And today's episode is dedicated to some questions I had from my subscribers and general public who wanted to know how did the layout start and how did I get involved with the model railway trains. So to tell you more about it, I grew up on a farm and we didn't always have a farm. We started out as any normal family. My father was working, my mother was working, and the kids, had to look after themselves basically during the day. We were not very, very wealthy and, had to start from scratch, my parents, and obviously tried the best they could to raise a good family and to provide us with what we needed and what they needed in life. So from there, a farm was bought, and a second farm was bought because my parents worked so hard and did so well. And on our second farm, we also had a business. And just going back a little bit more than that, if you look at our family history from Scottish Ore and the Castle of Lynn, and then eventually ending up in the UK, and the Lyons family, also a very big name, and obviously involved with trying toys. So having said that, from an early age, I was playing with dolls of trying and prams from trying and little tea sets and little dolls' houses, and my brothers were playing with the wooden rock horses, as well as tricycles, as well as bicycles, and they had different names, and some of these bicycles had weird names called hoppers and choppers. I'm not too sure. But when it came to cold rainy days and on weekends, everybody's just after homework and everything, and as I grew older, I used to sit and watch my brothers play with their train sets. And these obviously were inspired by South African railways a lot. And as most people know, that I grew up surrounded by the rails, and we was feeding the local towns with tourism, and that was all involved with the Apple Express of the Eastern Cape. Anyways, so having said that, so I grew up from a very early age with trains and steam, and that was part of my life, as well as the turntable, the turntable at the station, and the early hours when they start up the fires for the coal in the engines, and they start to reverse the engines and open the sidings and get the wagons ready to go on their journey to Port Elizabeth. And anyways, so having said that, so that trains were also obviously running through our farm, and which was kind of like a constant reminder that steam trains are part of our life, And so yes, so my brothers ended up with Lima, but they had very older locomotives that they got from my father, which were the Hornby Doblo, as well as the trying trains and trying Hornby train sets and wagons and things like that. So most of my family being born from 1960s, early 1960s up to mid 1970s when I was born, the last one, and out of the 9 children. And yes, so my locomotive layout is in memory of my family, and it reminds me of them, but also keeps their memory alive in so many ways. And it brings me joy because I can escape from this busy life we have and the madness of the world in the layout. And the layout is basically built on the design of our local town. And most of these towns, early settlement towns in South Africa, were very much built on the English style of stations and schools and a church, that would be normally the beginning of the town, and then 1 or 2 grocery stores, and depending on how businesses grow, etc., etc. So in our case, we're very, 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 very small community, but very mixed race community. So we got along with a lot of people, and I will always cherish that memories and what my parents meant for everyone at that point. But having said that, the parents are a long time gone, and most of my siblings are gone, and so there's no one to really appreciate the trains anymore. And I decided one day when I walked into a shop that was selling these sets of a little station and little layout that you can build, and myself and my husband, we were talking about it, and we wanted to do something like this, and we just never thought we'd really get to it. But when I walked into this little shop one day, and they had the trees and all these little homes and model homes and station and school and all these things, and I saw the little model cars and the British style cars and Oxfords, and I just knew, oh my goodness, I have to act now. I've got to buy up what I can. And so I did it, and obviously the plan was to build it according to this type of supplier, toy, marketing structure that they've put together for these little homes, and based on a little town called Little Benton. And so I used that, and that's just to show you that, if you want to start a layout, you don't always have to buy the most expensive buildings and things that go along. And again, this was just my startup layout, and my husband and a friend helped me to secure the track down. And they did the wiring for me, and I had to jump in and learn how to do it myself. But everything else I did, and to where the layout is today. So I still had boxes with toys for some reason from the family, and it was trying, and it was mainline and trying Hornby locomotives. At the beginning, obviously, like anybody else would have probably done, is the most important thing is to get tracks, and then kind of like work out what you'd like to do. Do you want to copy everything exactly as the model supplier that were promoting these little layouts for anyone that want to start in the hobby? Do you want to exactly copy that, or do you want to keep the idea, which was very in line with the town I grew up and our farm? And our farm overlooked the little village, so it just makes a lot of sense. So you had to decide, do you want to do that, or do you want to use some of that information and just do your own thing? And that is exactly what I did when I started designing. So first of all, designing on the floor, as anybody else would have done. And yeah, you can see, so from there I had to obviously invest in a board, and I decided not to go for the most fancy boards or anything, but just a plain simple board to put the layout on for now, because after all it is my first layout. And I will try my best to make it work, and what I want to see on it, and how I picture my brothers would have appreciated if they were alive to see it. And my last brother, the younger brother that passed away, did really appreciate it. He did tell me, and he did see it, but unfortunately he could never make it over to our place to actually come and experience it himself. So having said that, the dreadful COVID came, and we were in lockdown, and nobody was doing any business, and nobody could travel anywhere for at least 2.5 years. Everything was just put on hold. So sadly, my brother could never make it over. He was about 1,400 kilometers away from us, and he also had his own family, and they also had to battle, life is. And so in no time, 5 years went past like it was nothing, and the next thing, my brother was gone. So very sad, and this is the whole reason for me wanting to design a layout in kind of like a tribute to him and to the family, and also just for myself and for anybody else who appreciate little things like this. And that is why I did the little layout, and it just happened one day when my cousin told me, why don't you just create our own channel and start sharing the train set with other people that love the hobby, and that's exactly what I did. So from ordering the board and deciding on the buildings, which was a no-brainer because the buildings were right there and the cars were there and there were some people and some scenery and trees and things and trucks, and obviously there wasn't many locomotives available to purchase, so I just took what I got and I started planning, and I just knew I was going to make something. And the plan was obviously for my husband to be involved all the way, but he's still involved in a little bit because he helps me where he can, where he can on certain things that I need to do where I really need his help. But the rest is all me. So this is the layout, and this is my hobby that I chose. I mean, I play piano, I do horse riding, I do so many things, jet skiing, classic cars. I do a lot of things, and I work. And yes, it's just life, and it's exciting. And yes, you don't always have time for the trains, but it's always there. I can always go back when I need a little bit me time and just enjoy it and watch the classic trains and the classic era. The era that I love is between the 1940s till the end of 1960s, and I really love that era for some reason. And I do love the British cars, and coming from a British background as well as a France background, my family from France, this is what I wanted to do. So I did start, and this is where I am today. So having started with the plain board that I got and putting it on the dining room table, trying to see if I want to stick with the plan of the design, and then obviously eventually ending up in the garage, on the garage floor. So having said that, so the plan was then to get some kind of hoist the whole layout up in the air so I can still use the garage and park a vehicle underneath, but that seemed to be a little bit more riskier than what I used to see when I was growing up. My brothers had, and this was a huge room, and it was a bedroom that my two brothers shared, and obviously, now just think about it. It had 2 double beds, and it had a huge floor for them to play on endless time with their little cars and little cowboys and tents and things that they did. And then eventually they did another 2 double bed frames, and they did a bicycle chain type of hoist that they built, that my father helped them with, which was very, very interesting. And yes, that was designed with a little cross in the middle when somebody else have to just roll it down, and the whole layout will go down to a certain height, and then it will be locked, and that person will sit there and enjoy the layout and enjoy running the trains. So my one brother just had the passenger services, and the other brother was using the industrial side of things. And then the other brothers also were involved, but eventually had to get out and get to school and get to the Navy, and do everything that I needed to do in life, as we cannot stay kids forever, right? And anyways, and that is what I remembered. And I was not allowed to touch any locomotive or any rolling stock or people, but I was allowed to do some scenics. So that's my early days of getting involved with the scenics, which actually spurred me on to this decision to actually do this, and wishing that I could have had more time with him, away from what girls are supposed to do and what boys are supposed to do, but just to have that family time together and share it together, as I remembered what we used to do as children. So yes, I would always be a child at heart, I guess, and that is why I enjoy the good things in life, and I have great value and respect for anybody that has a layout, and especially in these difficult economical times, and that still enjoy what they're doing, and that's the whole thing. Never give up on your dream, and never give up on something that makes you happy. Balancing times is sometimes the issue, but this is what we need, and enjoy every minute. back to the board. This was the original size of the board, but then I decided to extend it, and lastly I extended it one more time, so that then obviously filled up the whole garage, basically a full length of my BMW X1. Basically, it's a full length of a vehicle, the layout, and the exact size I just can't remember it anymore, but the long and short is, yes, it's basically almost a full size in the garage. So yeah. So I had to put on my best Dick Tracy suit and get on a mission, and I had to sell a lot of the old trying stock, and I started getting in replacement stock of Hornby, and thus the major part of the layout is filled with Hornby stock, and secondly it would have some Bachmann stock, and then thirdly some Wren and some trying stock. So that's what my layout consists of currently, and then I make use of woodland scenics, animals, and then obviously some people from Bachmann and Hornby and animals from Hornby, and that's how I built the layout. And all the cars are 00 gauge, correct for the gauge size and scale size of 1.76, which is the 00 gauge, and that's why my layout is a 00 gauge layout. Finally, I could breathe again and live again, and yes, it feels like I've got my family with me, and in some way, might be silly, but in some way I feel they're around me, and they can see what pleasure I get when I'm out of the layout, when I'm lonely, or when I just want to keep myself busy with other things, when I'm not, otherwise engaged. And so yes, yeah. So a little bit of me time, also quiet time, and just having my cup of tea, or just enjoying a hot chocolate, and just running some trains, and just thinking what they would have thought and what they would have done. It's basically the thing that's guided me all the way when I did this layout. And obviously great help from the existing manufacturer special that they ran with these little Benton Town layouts with the buildings. I think if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't have really got into it again, and I'm glad I did in a way. And hopefully one day my son will take over and he will carry on with the trains. But for now, teenagers, young adults will be young adults. And thank you everyone for watching, and I hope that this cleared out how I started my layout. A lot of people just said they've never seen the layout, and how did this layout come to be? Well, I gave you some glimpse into it, and I hope that will be sufficient for now. And yes, keep those models running, people, and enjoy every minute. And thank you everyone for watching and subscribing, and for doing what you like by commenting and thumbs upping whenever you want to. And I really appreciate every single gesture. So take care everyone, and I'll see you around.